We start tonight with a Republican frontrunner. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has yet to officially declare that he's running for president in 2024. But according to a new list by the Washington Post, he tops the list of likely nominees. And now he is hitting the campaign trail, supporting Trump-backed candidates, some of whom question the election process. He is walking a line on major issues, courting MAGA voters while trying not to alienate moderate Republicans. NewsNation D.C. correspondent Joe Khalil joining us live. And Joe, people calling him a moderate MAGA candidate?
Yeah, we've heard that a couple of times about Governor Ron DeSantis. And look, he also seems to be at the front lines of every single culture war fight that we have. It's part of the reason Republicans really like him and consider him often a second choice to run for president behind Donald Trump. But can he keep it up? Because he has been walking a fine line between sort of embracing the Trump base and at the same time not turning off a lot of the more moderate, more establishment of the Republican Party.
We need leadership now more than ever.
He's become a star in the Republican Party, the most likely alternative in GOP voters' minds to Donald Trump. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis building his political brand by towing the line between the establishment and the MAGA movement.
He's kind of a moderate MAGA candidate, if you will.
Brian Darling, Republican strategist and former Senate aide, says while other Republicans in the Trump era have embraced culture war fights with the left, DeSantis stands out for knowing which fights to fight, using his platform as governor well, but stopping short of the extremes.
He seems to find the sweet spot where there's news coverage of an issue, and he's able to get into that issue and take action. Other candidates, potential candidates, that are not in the spotlight as much as a governor. So he's done a great job of navigating the MAGA world.
While many Trump allies have embraced the false notion that the 2020 election was stolen, for example, DeSantis hasn't. But he has championed a new Florida election law, popular among voters who call the election into question.
In the last two legislative sessions, we've done more on election integrity than any state in the country.
Darling also points out DeSantis hasn't waded too deep in the abortion discussion itself, but he has very publicly fired a Florida prosecutor who pledged not to go after those who violate the state's abortion restrictions.
We took action by removing him from office.
And perhaps his best weapon yet as a potential presidential candidate, DeSantis knows how to stay in the news cycle.
And look, even though DeSantis himself hasn't come out and said the election was rigged or stolen, he's not an election denier, but he has been endorsing and campaigning for a lot of candidates who have denied the election results, the legitimate election results. And so for that reason, some members of the Republican Party, Liz Cheney being one of them, says she just cannot support him as a candidate. He is also going to have a probably competitive race in November to hold on to his seat in the governorship there in Florida. And just this Tuesday, voters are going to go to the polls in Florida to decide who his Democratic challenger is going to be. Natasha?
Absolutely. Joe Khalil, thank you. And meanwhile, Governor DeSantis is in the middle of a major lawsuit. You will remember DeSantis suspended the state attorney who said he would refuse to prosecute crimes related to abortion and gender transition treatments for children. Well, now, that suspended state attorney, Andrew Warren, is suing the governor, claiming that DeSantis violated his constitutional rights by removing him from office. And tonight, we are joined by state attorney Andrew Warren to talk about this case. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we were just covering, it's obvious that the governor's influence is rising nationwide. He did spend this weekend backing top Republican candidates. You and your team are suing Governor Ron DeSantis for abuse of power and unlawful suspension. Why are you suing him right now?
Well, because he tried to overthrow an election here. You know, some people have talked about the election that was overthrown before, and we've seen some people who tried to overthrow an election on January 6th. Ron DeSantis did it on August 4th. He suspended me from office without any legal justification, and so we filed suit against him because there are really two claims there. One is he violated my First Amendment rights by retaliating against me for something that I said, and secondly, he's abusing his authority under the Florida Constitution to suspend an elected official without any legal justification.
Well, in terms of overthrowing an election, I mean, the Florida Constitution does say that the governor has the power to suspend a local official if they neglect their duty or show incompetence, among other criteria. And DeSantis says that your refusal to prosecute the post-Roe abortion law meets that criteria. So what do you say to that?
Well, DeSantis says a lot of things because he lives in a political world where he's not beholden to the truth. As a prosecutor, I spend my life in a courtroom where the facts matter and where evidence matters and where truth still matters. And what he's saying is just disconnected from reality. You know, he's talking about my refusal to enforce two laws. No case on either of those two laws have come before me. These two laws just happen to be his favorite, cultural war issues: abortion and transgender healthcare. The abortion law in Florida was held unconstitutional by the first judge who looked at it, and the transgender healthcare law doesn't even exist in Florida. So again, this is not about what I've done. This is about what I've said. And it's about the fact that I'm speaking out against Ron DeSantis. And he's shown that he's willing to go after people who have spoken out against him in the past.
Can I ask, I understand that it's not about what you have done, but it's what that you said. But what would you have done if those cases were to come forward about abortion or about gender transition? Would you have made good on the words that you said, the promises that you made?
Well, let's be clear. The statements that I put out are value statements. I mean, not only is it my right to speak freely on these issues, as a prosecutor, it's my obligation to talk about things that have to do with the criminal justice system. And that's what I was doing, making value statements about the fact that prosecuting the rape victim rather than the rapist is very poor public policy. Talking about that discriminating against our LGBTQ community is very poor public policy. But if laws were passed, and if those laws passed constitutional scrutiny, then I would handle those laws the same way we handle every single other case that comes before my office. We look at the facts, we look at the law, we look at the evidence, and we make determinations about whether we can go forward.
All right, circling back to just a couple minutes ago, and we know you've said before that the suspension is politically motivated. Can you tell us exactly what you mean by that?
Well, as you led in with the introduction, Governor DeSantis hasn't announced he's running for president, but it's clear he's either trying to run for president or trying to out-Trump Trump or both. This was a political circus. He came down here with a sideshow of a circus, saying things that, again, are disconnected from reality, suspending me from office without legal justification and blindsiding me for it. And he didn't do it because he wanted to make anything better in Hillsborough County. He did it so that he could add a line into his stump speech. And we've seen him using that line now as he travels the country, not doing what's best for Floridians, not serving the role that he has as the governor of Florida to take care of Floridians. He's out in Arizona, New Mexico, and Pennsylvania, stumping in other states and dropping in this line about, he went after this prosecutor so that he can get a room full of applause. The problem is he broke the law when he did it, and now he's going to be held accountable for that in a court of law.
Well, we are seeing this new list today by the Washington Post saying that he tops the list of likely GOP nominees. Do you believe that he's the right man to lead the GOP party and lead this country potentially?
Well, that's a question for the voters, but you're getting at the heart of the issue. I mean, elections still matter in our country. This is why everybody should be outraged. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican or an independent. The fact that the governor can overturn an election in Hillsborough County, can throw out the votes of the 370,000 people who voted for me, who volunteered for me, who contributed, who did everything that you need to do to get somebody elected, who put their trust in me to do this job. He's throwing that out. So your question, can he be the president? If he convinces people to vote for him, he should be the president. But I tell you this, how would people feel who support Governor DeSantis if Joe Biden decided, I don't like the job that he's doing as governor and I'm going to suspend him from office? That's not how democracy works. That is not America.
I mean, there is another side to this, and if I could just represent that side for a moment. I mean, some people who disagree with you say that you were setting up the potential to violate your oath of office. You were saying that you have veto power here. Can you explain your point of view in that?
Yeah, I mean, but it's just simply not true, right? I never said I have veto power, I'm going to veto these laws. What I said was, we shouldn't be passing these laws. These laws are not good for public safety, and I stand by that. Criminalizing private medical decisions between a woman and her doctor are not good for public safety. We have limited resources. My office handles some 50 to 60,000 cases a year. We have prioritized going after violent criminals, serious fraudsters, sexual predators, people who prey on children. Those are the people that we've gone after. We shouldn't be going after someone who is, a 15-year-old who was raped and is forced to make a decision about whether she's going to carry her pregnancy to term. That is poor public policy. That's what I'm being attacked for. Speaking out against policies that I support, and frankly, that a majority of Floridians support as well.
Polling shows that democracy is the #1 issue for voters right now. If Ron DeSantis does become the GOP nominee, are you concerned for democracy in this country?
I'm concerned for democracy right now in this country. Forget about who wins the GOP nomination. I'm concerned about the fact that people have let, tribalism of their parties and loyalty to party triumph over loyalty to country and American values.
Andrew, I hear you about the bipartisanship, but specifically about Ron DeSantis. If he becomes the GOP nominee, are you concerned for democracy in this country?
Yeah, I'm concerned anytime there's a leader who's willing to do whatever they need to do to get elected, disregarding the law. I'm concerned anytime someone feels like they only have to follow the rule of law and the Constitution when it's convenient. True patriots believe in the rule of law and the Constitution 100% of the time, even when it's inconvenient for their political ambitions.
State Attorney Andrew Warren, I certainly appreciate your time and for answering some tough questions. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.